This is pretty stunning. You know, Larry Kudlow, I have some sympathy for because it's so sad on some level, that just even on a human level, but that's not going to prevent me from mocking him and sort of laughing at how clueless. This is Donald Trump's chief economic advisor, and he doesn't seem to have any clue as to what's been going on in the attempts to cushion or save or help the economy during this massive crisis in this election year for his boss. Here he is. Let's just start with this one where he's on Dana Bash with on CNN. I mean, we've got him on like 3 different shows. Go ahead.
One quick other question about this apparent unemployment plan. We've talked to experts about this who say that even if this did happen, that it could take months to get this new system up and running. You agree with that?
No, I don't. The Labor Department, working with the states believe it can happen much faster than that. Mind you, all the federal money we have been putting in was running through the state systems. So those systems, which needed some reform and needed some updating, to be sure, those systems are in much better shape today than they were 3-4 months ago.
Checks?
I don't want to be specific because you might hold me to it, as you should, but I think it's going to be in a couple of weeks, and I think it's going to come to about $1,200 per person. That's a huge wage increase.
You keep saying $1,200 per person. Are you talking about in addition to the unemployment that they're already getting?
Oh, no.
Where does that number come from?
That's the payroll. I beg your pardon. The $1,200 will come from the payroll tax deferral.
Okay, we're going to get to that. Okay,
this,
all right, because there's a lot of numbers here, and it's a little confusing. I'm going to get to payroll tax in a minute. Go ahead.
It should be $800. I beg your pardon. It should be $800 for the unemployment.
800 or 400?
No, it should be $800. If the states step up, we're prepared to match. That should come out $400 federal, $400 states.
Okay, we'll move on because I think that's not what the president said, and it's a bit confusing.
You know, now this is Dana Bash also, like, apparently knowing. Okay, let's walk through this. What did the president basically say that the executive orders he was issuing? One was a delay in the payroll tax. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the other was unemployment aid, federal aid, has been an extra $600 a week. And then you get whatever the state was giving you. That is a function of a percentage of how much you were making before you lost your job. Democrats want to extend the $600 a week. That's $2,400 a month, more or less 4 weeks in a month. The Republicans wanted a $200. The president's going to supposedly executive order $400 a week. Now, there's a catch to that. $100 of that is supposed to come from the states who have no money. And the states are not going to match that. They're not going to give that extra $100. So it's going to be $300. It's also, that money is so there's no $800 involved in this in any fashion whatsoever. It's not $800 a month. It's not $800 a week. There is no $400 matching from the states. There is $100 matching to the $300 that are coming from the federal government, but the state does not have that money. And it's unclear whether the people on unemployment will get the other $300 if the state doesn't include the $100. On top of which, there's no money that's been allocated for this. He is taking money from the Department of Homeland Security's Disaster Relief Fund, which
during hurricane season.
During hurricane season. So it's unclear whether that money's going to, this is all, in other words, it's all for show. So much so that Donald Trump's chief economic advisor couldn't even tell you what the hell they were getting. He couldn't even go through it because because nobody took it seriously anyways, even in the White House. Now, maybe we've just seen that Kudlow had no idea what the expansion or the extension or the partial extension of the federal unemployment insurance bump would be. Let's see if he knows anything about the eviction moratorium that Donald Trump supposedly extended. Here he is on George Stephanopoulos' show.
A second key point was the eviction moratorium. Because the Democrats rejected various compromises, at least twice, to my knowledge, President felt he had to take action, and it will be timely action, and it will be temporary action, to be sure, probably mostly out to the end of this year. But let's help those who still need help.
But Larry, in fact, the president doesn't extend
great progress, but we had to take action.
In fact, the president doesn't extend the federal eviction moratorium. I looked at the executive order. It doesn't do that. It simply directs HUD to find a way to help people and identify federal funds. It doesn't include extending the eviction moratorium.
Hey, what happened? Well, look, that's not entirely true. I mean, in there.
Well, it is true.
Secretary of Health, if any determination is made that there's a health threat of community spread due to evictions or forbearance due to coming on top of evictions, that they would take action. So that's clear, and I think that's exactly what the health secretary is going to do. We also are going to be working through other agencies to spend some money for example, rental assistance. And federally backed housing, whether it's single family or multifamily, if there's any forbearance or if landlords make a request, then there will be no eviction during that process. So it just says there's going to be a review. I can tell you, George, the intent of that is that the review will prevent any evictions. We've been fortunate so far, but this is a guardrail, and it will work out beautifully.
Okay, I understand that. You say that's the intent. Just to clarify, because I'm reading page 3 of it right here. It says such action may include encouraging and providing assistance to public housing authorities, affordable housing owners, landlords, and recipients of federal grant funds, and minimizing evictions and foreclosures. It doesn't talk about it extending.
Yeah, in other words, everything that Larry Kudlow just said was made up. It was not only overly hopeful, it was also made up. And the idea that we've been able to just by chance avoid, massive evictions, no. That was because there was specifically a moratorium placed on evictions. What the president did was nothing. He said that if this is narrowly in your perspective, in your portfolio, you can decide if you want. And it seems like it's on a case-by-case basis, which is going to be impossible to administer. You can decide that there are some evictions that can be punted. It's absurd. It's absurd. And let's just also talk about, for a moment, the payroll tax thing, because this is important for people to understand.